For 4,000 years, we told the same story. Thousands of slaves getting whipped, dragging stone until they dropped. We're fed this lie in our movies, textbooks, and documentaries. And it's wrong. The men who built the pyramids were not slaves. They were paid, they were fed beef and beer. They were buried like heroes in the shadow of the pyramids they raised. But don't just take my word for it, look at their bones. Anyways, it's because their skeletons tell a much darker story. The slave story has one single author. Around 450 BC, a Greek traveler named Herodotus visited Egypt and wrote down what the locals told him. He claimed 100,000 men were forced to haul stone, working in shifts of 3 months for about 20 years. There was just one problem, however. Herodotus was writing more than 2,000 years after the Great Pyramids were already finished. He was further in time from the pyramid builders than we are from him. He wasn't reporting history, he was repeating a legend. So for the next 24 centuries, the world believed it, the movies believed it, your history teacher believed it, and it's wrong. The story was simply too good, too vivid, too cinematic to question. This right here is a lie. See what you did? You spread so many lies, dude. Now I gotta make a whole video correcting your actions. Let's just lie about everything, right? Let's just spread false information that the world now believes, right? Look, man, I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for you. Anyways, the real builders left a record of their own, sealed in the sand a few miles away. And one day, their bones would prove Herodotus wrong. What did I tell you, motherfucker? Then the ground gave up the truth. In the early 90s, archaeologists Mark Lehner and Zahi Hawass uncovered something no one expected. Not another temple, not another tomb for a king, but a city buried by the sand. An entire settlement built to house the people who raised the pyramids. Bakeries that could feed thousands, breweries, workshops, resting barracks laid out in long galleries, and beside it, a cemetery housing hundreds of graves for the workers themselves. Slaves are not given cities, and slaves are not given graves in the shadow of the king's monument. Something about the story was very wrong. The workers' cemetery itself had been found a few years earlier, almost by accident. Hey, what the fuck? A tourist riding near the plateau was thrown from her horse when it stumbled on a mud brick wall, prompting the Egyptian police to file a report. Zahi Hawass would later call them the tombs of the pyramid builders, and it settled the question for good. No pharaoh would bury slaves on the sacred ground beside its own pyramid. What the city revealed was a workforce that looked nothing like the legend. The bones of cattle, sheep, and goats piled up by the thousands. These men were eating prime beef, the food of wealthy, in quantities that tell us the state was feeding them deliberately and well. They were literally drinking beer by the jug. They were organizing themselves into crews with names they scratched into the stones themselves. Proud names like Friends of Khufu or the Drunkards of Menkora or something. I don't know. Just imagine it's like your boys and you building a pyramid and you're naming like crews or something. Okay? The point is, you do not name yourself after the king you're forced to serve. You name yourself that way when you believe you are part of something. These guys were skilled laborers, most likely farmers who came to work the pyramid during the months the Nile flooded their fields, paid in food, beer, and shelter, rotating homes when the season turned. Not slaves, conscripts, and craftsmen working for the most powerful state in the earth. But understanding who they were means actually picturing what they did. A single block of limestone weighing more than 2 tons on a ramp of packed rubble and mud, hauled by a team of men, ropes biting into their shoulders, leaning into the load until it grinds just a few feet forward. Over and over. 10 hours a day under a sun that climbs past 100 degrees.
They just don't make them like they used to. You know what I mean?
The Great Pyramids hold more than 2 million of these blocks, and every one was moved by a human hand. And it wasn't only men. Women lie in the same cemetery with the same damage in their bones. They ground the grain, hauled the water, and carried their share of the load. For 20 years, this was the rhythm of thousands of lives. And this is where most people stop. The myth is busted, the workers are free, everybody feels better. Roll the credits. No, stupid, there's more. Because that is only half the story. The same graves that proved they weren't slaves preserved something else. They preserved the bodies, and the bodies have not stopped talking. When researchers examined the skeletons, they found a population that had been physically broken by the work. Spines compressed and bent from carrying enormous weights, knees and hips ground raw with arthritis in men who were still young. Vertebrae fused together, backs curved permanently under weight the human frame was never built to hold. But wait, look closer. It gets worse.
Arms and legs broken and healed, fingers are crushed, and in more than one, hands and feet has been amputated. Pattern of the damage matched perfectly with the work they were doing. The lower spine was the worst of it, exactly where the body absorbs the strength of lifting. The arthritis closer to the joints that carry the weight.
These were not random accidents. Give me 1 second.
Can I help you? Doc, what do you mean, can you help me? Man, I'm just trying to do the job that you hired me to do. Hired you to do? Making funny quips about my birth status is funny to you. In what sense is that all professional? Hey, man, I'm just trying to add a little comedic relief. I didn't think it'd be a big deal. You didn't think it was a big deal? Oh my God, dude, you need to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. I told you those things in confidence. Well, maybe if your parents confidently planned your birth, we wouldn't be here, huh?
Now, where were we?
Oh, yeah.
These accidents were the signature of a single repeated motion performed for years on end. But wait, here's the part almost no one talks about. Many of those injuries had healed, the broken bones were set, the amputations were clear signs of survival and recovery. That sounds like mercy, and in a way, it was. The state kept doctors on site to patch these men up. But think about what that really means. You don't build hospitals for a job that is safe. These men were valuable, so they were repaired. The same way you repair a tool you intend to keep using. Crushed hands and shattered legs were so routine that fixing them became part of the operation. These men were valuable, so they were repaired. The same way you repair a tool you intend to keep using.
And I do not mean slave as in tool.
They were still sent back to the stone, however, so they didn't last very long. The preserved skeletons show these laborers tended to die in their 30s, years younger than the priests and officials buried just nearby. A short, brutal, worn-down life spent raising a monument designed to make the one man immortal, but in the face of oppression comes adversity. Across Egypt's history, when the state pushed too far, the people pushed back. 1,300 years after the Great Pyramid, in a village called Deir ul-Medina, the craftsmen who were carving the new royal tombs were paid in grain. 1 month, the grain didn't come, and they did something no record had ever described before. They put their tools down and walked off the job. They marched to the temples, sat down, and refused to move until they were paid. A scribe named Amanach wrote down the whole thing, and that papyrus still survives to this day as the first recorded labor strike in human history. It was not a riot, it was organized, deliberate, and it still worked. The grain was delivered. Different workers, a different age, but the same machine. State labor in Egypt was free enough to be exploited, and free enough, sometimes, to revolt. So strip away both myths. None of these workers were dragged in chains, the way Herodotus and Hollywood told you. And obviously, they were not happy volunteers building a dream either. The truth sits in a harder place between. They were free men, fed and paid and proud of their crews. And they worked until their spines bent and their bones broke and their bodies gave out a decade early. The pyramids were not built by slavery. They were built by something we still recognize. Paid labor pushed past its limit by people too powerful to refuse. We remember the king who ordered it and the wonder that resulted. But we almost never remember the man whose hands were crushed making it.
Holy hell, that really took a while to make. Damn, I gotta hire a new animator now. That's gonna suck. What the hell? What's going on? What's happening? My god, is it my time? Holy that's bright as hell. What the fuck?
Why, idiot, you have freed my humble service from a long-lasting death.
Really? Am I awarded with riches, big pharaoh daddy?
What? No. Something great. Death.